Hello everyone. The DHA has allocated its quota for the migration year 2025-26 to all the states, and this is what the number looks like. For the migration year 2025-26, total quota allocated for 190 and 491 nomination is 20,350, 9,760 places going to 190 and 7,500 places going to 491. In comparison with the last year, that is 24-25, the total quota allocation was 26,260, with 16,500 places having gone to 190 and 12,850 places having gone to 491. Now we do see a dip in the numbers here, but I think the following analysis explains. So first of all, we need to understand that the quota was released to the states on the 18th of November 2025, while the quota for 24-25 was released to the states on 18th of July 2024. So we are halfway down the migration year. The migration year 25-26 started on 1st of July and will end on the 30th of June 2026. We have just about 6 to 7 months to go, and the slight dip in the quota can be understandable, that we have more time and fewer numbers, but these fewer numbers will be completed in 6 months, 6 to 7 months instead of 12 months. And broadly, we see more reduction in the quota for 190 subclass and fewer reductions in 491. So if we have to just take a quick look at the quota that has changed this year, for the year 24-25, the state of NSW received 3,000 places for 190. This year we've got 2,100 places. That's a reduction by 900. The Northern Territory had received 800 places for 190 for 24-25. This year we've got 850 places. There has been an increase by 50 here. Queensland received a quota of 600 places in 24-25, and there's a huge leap here to 1,850 places with an increase of 1,250 places. South Australia was sitting at 3,000 places in 24-25 and has been brought down to 1,350, reduction of 1,650 this year for subclass of 190. Tasmania was allocated 2,100 last year and has been allocated 1,200 places this time, another reduction of 900. The state of Victoria had been allocated 3,000 places in 24-25 and is down to 2,700 with a reduction of just 300 places. And finally, Western Australia was also sitting at 3,000 in the year 24-25 and is down by 1,000, sitting at 2,000 places this year. For the subclass 491, the Australian Capital Territory was allocated 800 places in 2024-25 and the quota remains unchanged with ACT at 800 places again. The state of NSW was sitting at 2,000 for 491 in 24-25 and is down by 1,500. So there's a reduction of just 500 places. For Northern Territory, the quota remains the same at 800 for both 24-25 and 25-26. So no change there. The state of Queensland was sitting at 600 places at 24-25 and has gone up to 750, an increase of 150 here. South Australia was allocated a quota of just 800 places in 24-25 and has now gone up to 900 places this year and with an increase of 100 places. Tasmania was sitting at 760 for the year 24-25 and has gone down by 100 to 650 places. Victoria was sitting at 2,000 places in 24-25 and has gone down significantly to 700 places with a reduction of 1,300 places this year. And finally, Western Australia was also sitting at 2,000 places and has gone down to 1,400 places this year, with a reduction of 600 places. Now, having talked about the data, let's quickly analyze. So as you can see, the major reductions or the larger deductions, or let's say the chunks that have been taken off this year, are for 190 subclass. There has been a slight dip in some of the states for subclass 491, but other states are sitting at either the same quota or have received an increase in quota. Now let's talk about it state by state. First of all, as far as 190 is concerned, I want you to understand that 190 is a subclass for which invitations are largely issued to applicants whose occupations either fall on the MLTSSL, construction, education or health industry, or those who are living onshore. Offshore applicants by and large are not given 190 invitation unless they fall in the criteria I just talked about. So 491 is a subclass which concerns the offshore applicants more than subclass 190. So we're going to analyze the changes in the quota this year for 491. So as far as ACT is concerned, there is no change. As far as NSW is concerned, there is a dip in 25% quota, but we also have to consider that we are 50% through as far as the time is concerned. So a dip of 25% in just 6 to 7 months to go sounds fair enough. No change in Northern Territory again, but Northern Territory is a state that does have a very vast occupation list. So this is a state you would want to consider. Queensland has increased its quota by 150. South Australia has increased the quota by 100. And this year, South Australia has a very expanded list, including occupations which were not listed earlier. Tasmania has seen a reduction in 110 places. But remember, Tasmania has always been very, very conservative as far as offshore applications were concerned. So we did not see many nominations coming through for offshore applicants in the past years. Western Australia has had a reduction of 600 places, but it does not really concern offshore applicants much because offshore applicants largely did not fit the bill, the eligibility criteria for Western Australia nomination. And finally, Victoria is down by 1,300 places. But again, Victoria is a state that has not been largely issuing offshore invitations. If at all any invitations were issued by Victoria, those were only for MLTSSL, health, education, and construction industries. So things look pretty good for 491 applicants. Please make sure your EOIs are absolutely ready and correctly filled, because if you do happen to get an invitation and your EOI is not correct, the nomination is not going to be approved. So that will be it for today. We will meet again in the next session. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on 78498 78498 or send us your query at inquiries@caanwings.com.